what is the best gear for being a bounty hunter? Um, so most people when they hear this, oh, I'll just be a Mandalorian. But personally, I think that's lame. Sure, Mandalorians are awesome, but that is like become the generic choice for best bounty hunter. Boba Fett, Mando, Jango Fett, they're all like seen as some of the best bounty hunters, and they're all Mandalorians. So they all got like the same stuff. So I designed a bounty hunter who's not like that. He's got honestly he's got a lot of stuff from Mandalorians, but I tried to give it a little bit more stuff like that. So the bounty hunter that I designed, he's very nimble. So that's like his main thing. He's a sniper, a grappler. So that's like wrestling, and he's also a good pilot, which I think. Oh, and a tracker. That's something I didn't write down, but is actually very important, and I think that's one of the reasons Boba is the best bounty hunter ever, if not or if of his time, if not ever. I said that backwards. But anyways, so the best bounty hunter gear, in my opinion, is first you want like a really good mask or a visor or something that can help you see better, basically. Um, so obviously, being able to track someone down is very important for bounty hunting. You got to find them before you can fight them, and having good vision and good like ways to see people is uh, very helpful in that. I would imagine. I mean, I've never done it personally, but I mean that's what you would expect from bounty hunting is good vision would be very important to um, being a bounty hunter. Like look at Mando, he can like see through walls. That would be so useful. And I also brought up like Mando, his gun might be connected to his visor, like a targeting system basically, which would again be extremely useful. Um, so a visor would be very important for not only tracking down your opponents, but being able to see them once you've tracked them down to keep them in your sights and being able to take them down. Another thing that would be super useful is a jetpack. And this is so that you can get around faster. You can close the distance on your opponent quicker. You can move to different locations like better than if like climbing is good. Um, but why would you want to climb when you could just fly? Like that'd be um, so much more, so much easier basically. And I did consider using rocket boots like Cad Bane rather than a jetpack, but I think personally a jetpack would be better because you can just move faster with it. There's more thrust from it, um, and it gives you back armor, I guess too. At least Mando's does. I suppose Boba's and Django's are kind of like a weakness because you could blow it up. Um, but I would still prefer a jetpack because it's faster, less maneuverable, but faster. And I think speed is what I would be more focused on with that particular item. That's what it's there for. So I would choose that. The next thing that I would choose is a sniper rifle, and specifically Mando sniper rifle, the Ambin sniper rifle, or sometimes called the Ambin phase pulsar or something, pulse phaser. I forget what it's called. It's Mando's sniper rifle. You know what it's called, or I should say, you know what it is. Um, you know what it does. It's an awesome weapon. The one bad thing about it is it has to reload, but then again, it also has a lot more power than most other rifles, and even better than that, in my opinion, is that you can use it like a shock, like staff, like a melee weapon, which I think is super cool. And I do have a jetpack on this bounty hunter, so it's kind of hard to uh, hold the rifle. But I had this idea where instead of having the rifle like on your back or just holding it all the time, which would be kind of clumsy and lame, like no one would want to hold it the entire time. I had this idea where you would have it kind of like a sword, not in a scabbard, but like in that position, and it would totally work. You could just pull it out like from your side. It'd be on your left hip. You just grab it, pull it out, and bring the butt right up to your shoulder, and then lift it up with your other hand. Boom, right in position. I think that's a super interesting and cool idea, and I'm kind of surprised no one's done that before. The drawbacks are, I guess, uh, it moves around when you walk, and you're gonna bump things. But it's better than having it on your back where it's gonna fall off or you're not gonna be able to get it off. I mean, you can't really choose between having it fall off or um, being able to having it fall off or not being able to pull it out. There are ways around it, but they all include either having arms longer than your weapon, which that rifle is longer than my arm, or the other option would be having a back scabbard that is specially designed for that. There's a great video by a guy named Shadiversity on that. Look up like the Shabard or Shabard back scabbard, or back scabbard would probably come up with it. I don't know. Or just look up Shadiversity and look through his videos. It's a great channel, by the way. Check out the entire thing. But that episode that video specifically is relevant to this. That would work, except that you have a jetpack. So it really wouldn't work in this situation. So I had the idea to put it on your side, which would work very well. I mean, obviously, I haven't tried it with that specific rifle because it doesn't exist. But I tried it with like a rifle-shaped object, and I just pulled it out, and it worked pretty well. So it works pretty well, I think. Another cool thing that I would choose is a flamethrower. Flamethrowers are, and this actually has a double purpose. It's not just the flamethrower. It would be a Bhaskar Vambrace with a flamethrower attached. And the flamethrower is good because you can deploy it really quickly. It's super easy to use. You just punch your fist out and boom, fire. Great for creating space, getting away, which would be a huge asset to this bounty hunter that I'm designing. He's not so much the awesome warrior of like Jango Fett. He's more the cunning assassin of like Aurra Sing or Boba Fett. And this, I think, would be the most effective type of bounty hunter, is the one that's not focused on flashy fighting and being able to take on like Jedi. That's so cool. It's more like the ones that are focused on being able to track down your opponent and take them out quickly and efficiently with little risk. And being able to get away when it gets tough, which is something that the flamethrower would be very good at. So then another thing similar to this is taser gloves. And you see Cad Bane have these in his fight against Kenobi and Quinlan Vos, which, awesome fight. I think Cad Bane should not have been able to survive for as long as he did, and he even escapes, which is just incredible. I think he's probably the best bounty hunter of his time, or maybe the best at fighting. I don't know if he's better at tracking. We don't really know that much about Django, at least in canon. In Legends, he's the best. I mean, he takes on Jedi barehanded. Well, he's got his armor, I think. I haven't read the comics. I've watched videos on it, just to clarify. So I'm not an expert. So taser gloves, super useful. If you get close to your opponent, you lay a hand on them, you can take them out pretty much. So super useful. Yeah, as I said, Cad Bane uses them. He takes out Quinlan Vos super easily. Like, he gets knocked down, he reaches, grabs Quinlan Vos's ankle, and wins. Like, it's so simple. Then there's the next thing is knee rockets, which I just added these because, like, why wouldn't you have these? What else is going to take a spot on your knee? Like, why not have them? Why not have them on both legs? Why not have shin rockets? Like, what who cares? They're so awesome. I don't know. It's so unique that Boba Suit has like knee rockets. It's just awesome. So moving on, then there's the vibro blade, specifically like a vibro knife, which I think is just super useful. Not just for combat. You could like cut things with it. You can, it's having a short melee weapon is surprisingly useful against like armored opponents. Like against a Dark Trooper, those would be useful. Against a Mandalorian, those would be useful. And just for cutting things, I guess taking out Mudhorns, those wouldn't be my go-to. I would probably use my jetpack and then my a rifle to shoot at it from afar. Also, I would have grenades just strapped to my belt, just like Mando, and probably just like a lot of bounty hunters, if we're honest. Probably super useful. You can get through walls. You can take out larger opponents. You can cause confusion. Another thing is like a short range blaster, and the one I chose for this is Han Solo's DL-44 blaster. Let me rephrase that. DL-44 blaster, which is the one that Han Solo uses. I wouldn't need to have Han Solo's, just the same model. And I like this one because it's compact and it's has a quick firing rate. Mando's blaster would do well. One of Django's blasters would do well, but I don't know. I just felt like going with Han Solo's. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty classic as well. Just a cool design. Another two more awesome things, and these are my favorite two. The first one is a shield that becomes a hat, and this is obviously Embo. He has a hat like this. Embo is the like green skinned bounty hunter or green skinned bounty hunter with a crossbow, and the hat that turns into a shield, and he's also got a dog, which he's so cool, very interesting bounty hunter. And he even skis on his hat at one point, or snowboards. It's technically not either because it's a hat, not a ski or a snowboard. But it's he goes down it. He goes down a snowy hill standing on it, which is awesome. But it would be an awesome shield, and it's a great way to store the shield because, like I said, I've got a jetpack. Where am I going to store the shield other than on my head, which is a great use of space. Then there's my favorite part of this whole bunch of gear, is a stealth cloak, which would be incredibly useful. And these are actually a part of Star Wars and canon. The example is Rook from he's like Thrawn's. I don't know. Thrawn hired him basically. You see him in Rebels. You see him in Thrawn Alliances. I don't think you see him in Thrawn Treason. I believe he is helping Governor Price at that point. But anyways, he's a super interesting character, and one of the cool things about him, it's not really seen that much in the show, but in the book, he uses it a lot, and it's super useful. Just complete invisibility. I don't think there's a way to sense him. So that would be super useful. I don't know, like, obviously, you can't have all this gear, and if you could just choose everything, you could also choose a lightsaber, you could choose Beskar armor covering everything, you could choose a jetpack and rocket boots. Like, you could cover yourself and everything. But if I'm going to design, like, a bounty hunter who's pretty wealthy, but not overly wealthy, I'd give him everything except the invisibility cloak, which I don't think is affordable. Although, if you could afford it, that would be incredibly useful for getting away, for assassinating, for just general bounty hunter work. Maybe not tracking or collecting your reward, but like useful for pretty much everything else. Anyways, one thing that often gets neglected when looking at a bounty hunter is the ship, and this is something that I actually think applies to Mando specifically. So Mando he's got a ship, right? But it's not a good ship. He does have the carbonite freezing thing, which is pretty useful. He can store a lot more bounties in there. So that's useful, but it's a big and clunky ship with slow guns. They're powerful guns, but they're slow guns. So for that reason, I don't really like that ship. The ship that I would choose, and I thought about this and I'm like, well, it's kind of like a classic cliche thing, but I would go with the Slave One if I had to go with a specific model. Slave One has pretty much everything. It's fast, it's tough, it's got it's got a hyperdrive, of course, very useful. But it's also got a lot of other things, like additional things that are awesome. It's got missiles, it's got seismic charges, it's got ion blasters. Its blasters are faster rather than more powerful. It's got a lot of storage space for storing your captured people. You probably can't store quite as many as on the Razor Crest because it doesn't have a carbonite freezing chamber. But I mean, just add that, and then you've got an even better ship. But other things that I think you could add to it are maybe like a smuggler hiding spot, like on the Millennium Falcon, like those little trapdoors that they go under. That one's maybe not too useful, but these other two would be super useful. You've also got a gravity well generator, as seen with interdictor class star destroyers. Are they called star destroyers? The Imperial ships that take things out of hyperspace. Those would be super useful. I don't know the technology super well on those. It's kind of new as of the time of Zero BBY. But anyways, I don't know. I think it's too big for a single person ship or even a double person ship. But one that's not is a cloaking device similar to the stealth cloak I mentioned earlier for like on person, having that on your ship, and that's been seen in like the core worlds and stuff. Not only in the Clone Wars do you see that, but you also read about it in the Tarkin book, which is an excellent book. You should totally read that if you haven't. And if you have, leave me your thoughts about that in the chat or in the comments. It was a great book. the invisibility stuff is super interesting, and if they ever make like sequels to the sequels, I hope they expand more on stuff like gravity well generation um and like invisibility cloaks and stuff, and all these new technologies that are just starting to appear, and kind of see how they affect the society, and even make up new ones. Um, Not just like, oh, we're gonna make Death Star lasers smaller and put them on Star Destroyers, but like we're going to make up, oh, I don't know. Suddenly, this is kind of hard. Maybe like they find some way to use Teslas, not like the car, like the electricity generation weapon. And you do see those in Thrawn Treason. I think it's the Grisk. The Grisk have them, and they use them against Vader and a bunch of stormtroopers, um, which super awesome scene, by the way. Um, but the point is that I think they should expand more on these and just give us a bit more if they ever do sequels. And another thing, a big criticism I have of the Legends of the Old Republic is the technology is about as good as it is in the like New Republic, or the what is now considered the Old Republic, but in Legends was considered just the Republic, like the Clone Wars era. Um, the technology was pretty much the same. Um, I can't. I mean, I'm not as well versed with those as other people who are older than me, um, but they just don't seem to have much progression there. And if they do go back, I think they should take away some of the technologies from that. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the best bounty hunter gear. In conclusion, you've got an like awesome visor for excellent visibility. You've got jetpacks for excellent mobility. You've got an ambient sniper rifle, which is Mando's signature rifle, which got blown up in Chapter 14. Sad. You've got flamethrowers for just a quick use to maybe create space or create confusion. You've got taser gloves for when you're in close and ready to just grab someone, take them up real quick. You've got your stealth cloak, like Rook, super useful. You've got knee rockets, just because they're cool. You've got vibroblade, like a vibro knife, for close quarters combat again, and just for general utility. You've got a DL-44 blaster, just a good sidearm. You've got grenades, just good for blowing up walls, creating confusion, taking out large targets. You've got an Embo hat shield, which is just a clever way to store your shield. Just put that on your head, and then you've got a ship a lot like the Slave One. Maybe add some invisibility cloaks, gravity well generators, or maybe even a smuggler hiding spot. But that is, in my opinion, what the best bounty hunter would look like.